The galaxy was wide, endless, and filled with countless civilizations. For ages, empires had risen and fallen like waves on an infinite ocean. At the center of them all, one power stood tall above the rest, the Galactic Empire. It was proud, ancient, and merciless. Its fleets stretched across the stars. Its armies conquered world after world, and its rulers believed there was nothing left in existence that could stand against them. But in one quiet corner of the galaxy, on the edge of the Orion Arm, there was a border no one dared to cross. Not smugglers, not traders, not explorers, not even the Empire's most reckless admirals. A line was drawn in the void of space, marked by satellites that had floated for centuries. Their lights were dim, their metal scarred by time, but their message never faded. Every ship that came close to the frontier would receive the same transmission. It was not long. It was not complicated. It was written in every language known to the galaxy, and even in dead ones. It said only this: do not cross into Terran space. No other explanation was given. No voice spoke beyond the words. No face appeared to explain why. Just the warning, repeated again and again, until the ship turned away or powered down its engines in silence. Most species of the galaxy avoided that frontier. Some avoided it out of fear, others out of respect, and a few because of old memories. Memories they did not want to speak about. Only the elders of certain worlds remembered what had once happened there. Only they knew the truth behind the warning, and they carried it like a wound, hidden but never healed. Long ago, before the Empire had stretched its hand across the stars, there was another power that burned briefly, but fiercely, a species that rose late in the galactic game but grew faster, learned quicker, and fought harder than anyone expected. That species was humanity. The humans of Earth were unlike any other. They were fragile compared to the armored scales of reptilian races, soft compared to the carapaces of insectoid civilizations, small compared to the towering stone-skinned giants. And yet somehow they survived. Against odds, against nature, against the endless cruelty of their own history, they endured. Where others bent, they resisted. Where others surrendered, they fought. And where others faded away, they adapted and rose stronger. The galaxy first noticed them when they began to settle the stars near their home. Their colonies grew quickly, spreading to barren worlds where no other race had ever tried to live. The humans worked the ice, the deserts, the poisoned rocks, and even the dark edges of space. They turned wastelands into homes. To them, survival was not strange. It was their nature. At first, the Empire ignored them. A single young species was nothing compared to the vastness of its dominion. But then whispers began to spread. Whispers of battles where small human fleets resisted impossible odds. Whispers of wars where entire civilizations were saved because the humans fought at their side. And darker whispers still, of enemies who underestimated them, only to vanish in fire. The elders remembered those days. They remembered standing beside human soldiers in the mud of battlefields, watching them fight long after any other army would have broken. They remembered their ships, fast and unpredictable, striking like lightning against enemies that thought themselves invincible. They remembered their voices, calm, steady, unshaken, even when surrounded. But then, just as quickly as they had risen, the humans withdrew. Their colonies fell silent. Their fleets vanished. Their home world, Earth, sealed itself away. No one knew why. Some believed they destroyed themselves in a great war. Others believed they simply grew tired of the galaxy's endless cycle of conquest and despair. The truth was hidden, locked behind the warning, and so the centuries passed. Empires rose and fell. Borders shifted. Armies marched. Yet Terran space remained untouched, sealed by the message that floated on ancient satellites. Do not cross into Terran space. For many, the warning was a curiosity, an old mystery, a ghost story told in the bars of distant space stations. For smugglers and pirates, it was a curse. Ships that ignored the warning never returned. For the wise, it was a line never to be crossed. But pride is a dangerous thing, and pride was the heart of the empire. Its lords and rulers believed they had conquered everything. They believed no species could defy them, no power could resist them, no warning could bind them. To them, the silence of Terran space was not strength, it was weakness. It was emptiness. They told themselves the humans were gone, extinct, forgotten. But in the deep corners of the galaxy, among those who had once fought beside them, whispers remained. Whispers of a fire that never died. Whispers of a people who never surrendered. Whispers of a promise carved into the stars themselves. And the promise was simple. If the Empire ever crossed that line, if they ever ignored the warning, they would learn the truth the elders already knew. The truth that had been spoken again and again across the endless dark: do not cross into Terran space. The Hall of Suns was the heart of the Empire. Built from crystal and steel, it floated above the capital world like a jewel. Its walls glowed with the light of 1,000 stars, each one representing a world conquered by the Empire. To most, it was a place of pride. To others, it was a place of fear. On this day, the Council of Lords gathered inside. Their cloaks shimmered, their jeweled crowns reflected the starfire above them, and their voices filled the chamber with arrogance. They had gathered for a single reason: the matter of Terran space. For centuries, that corner of the galaxy had remained untouched. The warning was known to all. Even smugglers and pirates who feared no law turned away from its borders. But now, whispers of expansion filled the council. The Empire's hunger was endless. New worlds were needed, new resources, new glory. And Terran space, untouched and silent, tempted them like forbidden fruit. Lord Varaxis, commander of the Imperial Armada, stood at the center of the chamber. His scales glistened under the golden light and his eyes burned with pride. He raised his voice, sharp and booming. "My scouts have returned," he declared. "They have crossed near the Terran border. They found nothing. No ships, no colonies, no defenses. The humans are gone. Their warning is empty." A ripple of approval moved through the chamber. Many lords nodded, their greed sharpening. To them, emptiness meant opportunity. But not all were convinced. From the side of the hall, an elder rose slowly. His body was frail, his horns cracked with age, his voice trembling but clear. He was Lord Sareth, one of the oldest members of the council. He remembered things the others had forgotten. "You speak too quickly, Varaxis," Sareth warned. "The warning is not empty. It has stood for centuries. Do you not wonder why? Do you not question what waits in that silence?" Varaxis sneered, his tail lashing the floor. "Old man, your mind is trapped in the past. These humans, these Terrans you speak of, they are dust. If they still lived, they would have shown themselves by now. We are the Empire. Nothing resists us. Why should we fear ghosts?" The younger lords roared in laughter and approval. The elder lowered his gaze, sorrow in his eyes. He remembered battles long ago, when humans had stood shoulder to shoulder with his people. He remembered their courage, their endless will, and he remembered something else: how the humans had fought even when broken, how they had turned defeat into fury. "Do not mistake silence for weakness," Sareth whispered, but his words were drowned out by the thunder of the chamber. Another lord stood, her feathers sharp as blades. "The Empire must expand. Terran space lies idle while our fleets hunger for conquest. Why should we deny ourselves when the humans are no more?" Cheers filled the hall. One by one, the lords declared their agreement. To them, the idea of an empty frontier was too tempting to ignore. Greed blinded them, pride deafened them, and ambition poisoned their judgment. At last, the Emperor himself rose from his throne at the back of the chamber. His robes shimmered with starlight, his face hidden beneath a golden mask. When he spoke, his voice was low but filled with power. "The decision of the council is clear," the Emperor declared. "The humans are gone. Their warning is a shadow of the past. The Empire will expand into Terran space. The Armada shall lead the way." The hall erupted in thunderous applause. The lords shouted their approval, their voices echoing against the shining walls. To them, this was victory already, a chance to claim new worlds, new riches, new glory. But in the shadows of the chamber, Lord Sareth sat in silence. His hands trembled, his heart heavy. He had seen the fire of humanity with his own eyes. He had seen their wrath when provoked, and he knew with a deep, unshakable dread that the council had sealed their fate. That night, as the lords celebrated, Sareth wandered alone through the gardens of the capital. He looked up at the stars and whispered to himself, "Fools, you think the humans are gone. You think their silence is surrender. But I have seen them. I know what they are. If you cross that line, you will awaken something you cannot control." But no one listened to him. The council had spoken. The fleets were already being prepared. Orders spread through the armadas. Maps of Terran space were drawn, supply lines established, warships armed. The Empire moved with confidence, blind, to the storm they were about to awaken. And so across the stars the quiet warning remained. The satellites still repeated the same message, their voices soft but eternal. Every ship that neared the border still heard it. Do not cross into Terran space. But the Empire had chosen arrogance. They would not listen, they would not stop. And somewhere, hidden in the silence of those dark stars, something waited. Something that remembered, something that did not forgive. The Imperial Armada gathered like a storm. Thousands of ships floated in the darkness, their engines glowing red and gold, their banners of conquest shining across the stars. To the galaxy, it was a terrifying sight. To the Empire, it was glory. At the front of this storm stood Lord Varaxis, the commander whose pride had convinced the council. His flagship, Dominion's Wrath, stretched like a city across the void, bristling with weapons and shields. From its bridge, Varaxis gazed into the darkness ahead. Beyond the shimmering line of warning beacons lay Terran space, silent, untouched, forbidden. Today, he declared to his officers, the Empire claims what others fear. Today we prove that no warning, no myth, no ghost can stop us. The humans are gone, their space is ours. The officers saluted. The armada surged forward. The first ships crossed the border. As their hulls slipped past the beacons, the ancient satellites came to life. Their lights flickered weakly. Their voices crackled through the comm channels in a dozen tongues. Do not cross into Terran space. The words repeated again and again, soft and unchanging. The crews listened uneasily. The warning sounded old, almost broken, but there was something in its tone that made them shiver. It was not a threat shouted in arrogance. It was a truth spoken in sorrow. Varaxis only laughed. Static and superstition, silence them. The beacons were destroyed, their voices cut off one by one. The Armada pressed deeper into Terran space. Addy. First they found nothing. No colonies, no stations, no fleets. Only dead worlds, barren and broken. On one planet, they discovered the ruins of a city, its buildings reduced to stone and ash. On another, they found empty mines, their veins long, stripped of ore. Everywhere they looked, they saw silence. See? Varaxis said, his voice dripping with triumph. The humans are dust. Their empire is gone. Their warning was fear, nothing more. But not all shared his confidence. The crews whispered among themselves. They spoke of strange signals appearing on their scanners, brief, faint, vanishing before they could be locked. They spoke of shadows moving in the void, too large to be asteroids, too fast to be debris. And they spoke of voices, soft human voices, bleeding into the comm channels in languages no machine could translate. One night, in the deep silence of space, an officer aboard the cruiser Iron Fang reported hearing words through the static, a calm human voice whispering, "Turn back." When she told her captain, he silenced her and threatened punishment. "Fear makes the weak see ghosts," he growled. "Remember who we are. We are the Empire. We do not fear shadows." Yet still, the unease spread. The deeper the Armada moved, The colder the stars seemed to burn. The silence grew heavy, pressing on their hearts like unseen chains. Weeks passed. The Armada advanced world by world until one day the first disappearance occurred. The ship Crown of Fire was patrolling near a dead moon when its signal vanished. One moment, it was there. The next, it was gone. No explosion, no distress call. Only silence. At first, Veraxis dismissed it as a malfunction, but then another ship vanished, then 3 more. Panic began to stir in the fleets. Crews whispered of predators in the dark, of ships that moved unseen. On the 7th day, the truth appeared. A scout vessel picked up a shadow, a massive object moving at impossible speed. Its scanners tried to identify it, but the data was scrambled. Then for a single moment the object turned. The crew saw it. It was a ship larger than any they had ever known. Black as night, armored like a fortress, its engines burned with a fury not of this age. Across its hull, faint but unmistakable, letters were etched in human script. TSS Vengeance. The scout's crew sent a desperate signal, but before they could finish, the shadow opened fire. A single blast tore the vessel apart, its wreckage scattering into the void. The Armada reeled in shock. Veraxis snarled and demanded retaliation, but fear had already begun to spread. The humans were not gone. They had not vanished. They had been waiting, hidden in the silence of their space, watching, preparing. And now, awakened by the Empire's arrogance, they had returned. That night, the whispers on the comm channels grew louder. Human voices echoed through the static, calm and steady, as if carried by the ghosts of the stars themselves. We warned you. You should have listened. Do not cross. The Empire had breached the line. The storm had begun. And somewhere, deep in Terran space, more shadows stirred. The first vanishings had shaken the Armada, but many still clung to Veraxis's words. They told themselves it was chance, malfunction, sabotage. The Empire could not be hunted. The Empire could not be broken. That was what they had been taught since birth. But belief began to die the moment the Terrans revealed themselves. The vengeance was only the beginning. Soon more shadows appeared across the fleet's scanners. Huge ships scarred by time but alive with power emerged from the darkness. They bore names painted in human script: Defiance, Retribution, Iron Will, Horizon's Fire. Each one seemed like a ghost from another age, rising from silence to take its place once more. The Empire had expected ruins. They had expected weakness. What they found was an army that had waited in the dark for centuries, patient and silent, like a predator in tall grass. The first battle came swiftly. The Dominion's wrath and its escorts detected human ships near a burned planet. Veraxis ordered an attack without hesitation. Imperial dreadnoughts moved into formation, their weapons glowing, their engines roaring. But the humans did not fight like any enemy the Empire had known. They did not hold their ground. They did not march in lines. They struck like lightning, swift and unpredictable. A Terran cruiser would appear from the shadows, fire a storm of missiles, then vanish before the Empire could answer. Another would slip between dreadnoughts, cutting into their blind spots, its guns ripping through armor before disappearing into the void. And at the center of it all moved the Vengeance. Its cannons fired beams of searing light that tore through Imperial shields as if they were paper. Every strike was precise, deliberate, merciless. In less than an hour, the Imperial formation was broken. Whole squadrons burned. Warships that had never known defeat drifted silent, their hulls shattered, their crews lost. Veraxis roared orders, his pride burning hotter than his fear. He commanded his fleets to regroup, to hold, to remind the humans of the Empire's strength. But his words were swallowed by chaos. The humans pressed the attack, and with every ship that fell, a message crackled through the comms in calm human voices. We told you not to cross. The words spread like fire. Every crew heard them. Every officer felt them. The warning that had once been distant and mysterious was now alive, sharp as a blade cutting into their hearts. For the first time in generations, The soldiers of the Empire knew fear. In the days that followed, the truth became undeniable. The humans had never vanished. They had never been defeated. They had hidden themselves, withdrawing into their space, building, waiting, and watching. The warning had not been arrogance. It had been mercy, and the Empire had ignored it. Now the humans rose from the silence of their broken worlds, from hidden stations orbiting dead moons, from bunkers buried under ice, from colonies thought abandoned. Their fleets emerged. Old ships, yes, but reforged with a terrifying will. Scarred, but unyielding. Every time the Empire sent patrols deeper, those patrols vanished. Every time they tried to retreat, shadows followed them, striking without mercy. What had begun as a campaign of conquest had turned into a nightmare. Crews whispered that the humans could see them even in the darkest corners of space. Some swore they saw human ships flicker into existence where nothing had been before. Others claimed the humans controlled the silence itself, bending shadows to hide their movements. Whether the stories were true or not, one fact remained. No, Imperial ship was safe inside Terran space. On the bridge of the Dominion's wrath, Varaxis raged. His claws tore grooves into the metal of his command chair. Pride still burned in him, but it no longer had the heat of victory. Now it burned like desperation. "They are only men," he roared. "Fragile creatures soft as dust. How can they fight like this? How can they stand against us?" But no answer came. His officers avoided his eyes. They had seen the truth, though none dared speak it. The humans were fragile, yes, but they were also fire. They were persistence. They were the storm that never ended. And against that, even the mighty Empire faltered. Night after night, the human voices returned to the comms, calm and steady. "Do not cross into Terran space. This is your last warning." But the warning was no longer just words. It was battle. It was fire. It was ships burning in the void. The Empire had awakened the Terrans, and the Terrans would not go back to sleep. The Empire had thought itself unstoppable. Its fleets numbered in the thousands, its weapons capable of annihilating entire worlds, its pride unshakable. But all of that was gone the moment humanity struck in full. The Terrans did not come quietly. They did not announce themselves with diplomacy or delay. They arrived like a storm born from the void itself. The first wave of Terran warships appeared without warning, dark and immense, moving with a speed and precision that no Imperial strategist had ever imagined. Their weapons burned with blue-white energy, tearing through shields like paper. Every shot counted. Every strike was a message. The Vengeance led the charge. Its cannons roared, each blast splitting the vacuum with light so bright it made the Imperial soldiers blink. Every dreadnought in its path crumbled, hulls exploding into clouds of fire and metal. And behind it, countless human ships surged, emerging from the shadows of dead planets, hidden stations, and uncharted sectors. They were old, yes, but every vessel had been rebuilt, reforged, sharpened, and armed with deadly purpose. Varaxis screamed orders, trying to regroup his fleet. His flagship, the Dominion's Wrath, fired every weapon it had, sending torrents of missiles and beams toward the oncoming humans. But it was like throwing stones against a tidal wave. One by one, his ships fell. Squadrons were obliterated in seconds. Entire wings vanished without a trace. The Empire's might crumbled before the calm efficiency of humanity. From orbiting stations, hidden Terran garrisons launched surprise attacks. The Empire had mapped every world, every asteroid, belt every moon. But the humans moved where no sensors could reach. They struck from angles that should have been impossible, appearing and disappearing like phantoms. By the end of the first day, Imperial ships had begun to retreat, but it was too late. The humans were everywhere and nowhere. Through the channels calm, emotionless human voices carried across the void. Each one was a whisper of finality, a reminder of the warning that had been ignored for centuries. "We told you not to cross." Every crew heard it, every officer, every soldier. It was not a threat. It was certainty. The Empire had broken, a rule older than most civilizations, and now the consequences had come. On the bridge of the Dominion's wrath, Varaxis's claws shook. Pride, the fuel of his life, burned into fear. His fleet was dying, and no order could change it. He looked out into the void and saw human ships, black-scarred, relentless, moving like predators. Their numbers seemed endless. They struck without hesitation, and for every Imperial vessel destroyed, another Terran appeared to replace it. And yet, even in the chaos, the humans did not kill indiscriminately. Their strikes were precise, surgical. They destroyed warships, but left salvageable stations untouched. They fired at weapons, not civilians. There was strategy, there was discipline, there was intent. Humanity did not fight like other species. They fought like humans, clever, stubborn, relentless. Imperial fleets began to fracture. Communication broke down. Fear spread faster than fire. Some officers begged for retreat, others fought on blindly, hoping their weapons could turn the tide. But every strategy, every formation, every plan crumbled before the humans' foresight. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy saw the unthinkable. The Empire was losing. The Empire, which had never known defeat, was broken. Its pride, its power, its fleets, all shattered by a species it had believed extinct. On one devastated battlefield, a human fleet cornered a squadron of dreadnoughts. They had nowhere to flee. The Terrans paused for a moment, almost respectfully. Then, in unison, their weapons fired, and the dreadnoughts exploded like fireworks. In the silence after the blasts, a single message appeared across the Imperial comms, repeated on every frequency. Do not cross into Terran space. Even Varaxis understood then that the humans had not fought just to defend territory. They had fought to teach a lesson. They had fought to remind the galaxy why their warning had stood unchallenged for centuries. By the third day, the Empire's forces were scattered remnants. Ships drifted through space, abandoned, burned, silent. The Terrans did not pursue indiscriminately. They left enough to survive, enough to tell the tale, enough to ensure the warning would never be forgotten. Varaxis fled aboard a crippled vessel, pride destroyed, soul shaken. As he looked back at the burning remains of his fleet, he understood the truth too late. Humanity had been patient, waiting, preparing. They were not simply survivors, they were a reckoning. And in the aftermath, as the Terrans regrouped, they sent a final message across the void. This was your last warning. Never cross into Terran space again. The words echoed across the galaxy, a reminder of what power truly meant and of what consequences followed arrogance and pride. For in that moment, the galaxy learned something it would never forget. Humanity was not just a species. Humanity was a force, a storm that waited, a fire that burned in silence. And now, awakened, it would never be ignored again. The galaxy had fallen silent. The Empire's fleets were shattered, drifting in the darkness like broken toys. Planets, once ruled by fear, were quiet, their skies empty of Imperial patrols. The survivors whispered rumors of what had happened in Terran space, passing the stories from one system to the next. Every species, every civilization, every trader and traveler felt the weight of it. The humans had returned. And then, across the void, came the voice of Earth itself. It was not a roar of war. It was not a proclamation of conquest. It was calm, deliberate and clear, a signal broadcast to every corner of the galaxy, in every language known and even in some long-forgotten dialects. Every ship that had survived, every station that had not been destroyed, received it. Every world heard it. This is Earth, the message began. The voice was steady, human, and filled with the quiet authority of someone who had seen countless threats and survived them all. We do not seek conquest. We do not seek empire. We do not seek vengeance, unless it is provoked. The words were simple, but their weight shook the galaxy. For centuries, humanity had been underestimated. Their colonies had been ignored, their warnings dismissed. And yet here they spoke, not from fear, not from rage, but from a place of undeniable strength. For centuries, the voice continued, We warned the galaxy. Our borders were marked. Our message was clear. We told the Empire, and we tell all who would listen now, do not cross into Terran space. Every listener, from the smallest trader to the highest lord of the Empire, felt the gravity of the words. It was not just a warning, it was a declaration, not of violence, but of a power that could not be ignored, a power that had waited silently, patiently, and now was awake. The voice spoke again, this time slower, heavier, more deliberate. We have rebuilt. We have prepared. Those who ignore our warning will meet the consequences. We are not a threat to those who respect peace, but we are unstoppable to those who bring war to our doorstep. Across the galaxy, screens lit up, comm channels flooded, and stations paused to listen. No alien had ever spoken like this before. There was no bluster, no arrogance, no unnecessary pride. It was simple truth. It was certainty. And the certainty burned deeper than any weapon. Some believed it was impossible. How could a single species long thought gone command such power? How could they rise from silence to strike an empire? Traders spoke in hushed tones. Scholars wrote frantic reports. Militaries recalculated plans. Every intelligence network worked tirelessly to understand what the humans had become. And yet the message was clear. Earth was not an empire seeking expansion. Earth was a sentinel. Its warning had been ignored, and now it had acted. The galaxy understood that humanity did not need to pursue victory. Their very existence was enough to enforce it. In the command chambers of the remaining imperial leaders, panic replaced pride. Fleets that had once dominated countless star systems now floated like drifting debris, powerless. Generals whispered, in disbelief, and lords who had laughed at the warning now cowered, realizing that arrogance had nearly destroyed them. Some worlds that had long suffered under the Empire's shadow celebrated quietly. The humans had not attacked indiscriminately. They had struck only when provoked. And now, through their message, they offered a chance for peace, for respect, for survival. Those who listened could live. Those who ignored it would face consequences far beyond anything the galaxy had known. And on Earth, the people watched in quiet determination. They had endured centuries of ignorance and underestimation. They had prepared quietly, hidden in the shadows, rebuilding their fleets, training their soldiers, perfecting their technology. And now, the galaxy had seen them, not as myths, not as ghosts, but as humans. Strong, patient, and unstoppable. The voice returned one final time, slow and steady, echoing in every corner of space. This is Earth. We do not seek war. We do not seek glory. We only seek peace. But if you enter our space, if you bring conflict to our worlds, know this. We will respond, and we will not stop. The message ended as it had begun, leaving silence in its wake. But it was not emptiness. It was filled with meaning, with warning, with a calm power that resonated deeper than any weapon, faster than any fleet, stronger than any empire. Across the stars, the remnants of the Empire listened in disbelief. Across the galaxy, civilizations paused, reconsidering every decision. Across the void, every being learned a lesson they would not forget. Humanity was patient, humanity was strong, humanity had survived.